iOS fans, Robin here. I just thought I'd do a quick little video on something I should think has been a little bit overlooked with all the slew of Chasm announcements and changes in FAQ and all the new cards and then slight rules tweaks. I think there's a little bit of something that's been lost in the discussion, and I think it's possibly my favourite thing in the whole of all the new deluge of stuff. Well, it's not my favourite, but certainly the most interesting, and I think potentially is really great for the game, and I don't think very many people have talked about it, so I thought I'd throw a little video out there for you and we can have a little chat about the new Vanguard Tournament rules. Yes, now Vanguard I think are some sort of Stormforce internal term, which can get a little bit confusing, but a Vanguard I think is also the small unit of troops that is out in front of an army perhaps. So this is kind of like a lead-in tournament, the one that's at the front, maybe your first one you will go to perhaps. Yes, because the Vanguard rules for the tournament are that you can only use the cards and warbands significantly from the specific season that is current. So the current season is Chasm. So at the moment, if you went to a Vanguard tournament, if there are a few places in the world where tournaments are happening, if you went to a Vanguard tournament, you could only play the Dread Pageant or My Yuri's Purifiers. Just those two warbands and just the cards in the Chasm box. Now we have seen on the roadmap that we're going to get monthly warbands coming forward for Chasm, which is a little bit of a departure from the usual release schedule. And what this means is that each month you'll get a new warband and then some new cards which you can add into your Vanguard tournament games. And I really like this format. Pete and I, we tend to play championship format on the channel because that's what most people play. But I quite like this as an option for us to mix it up a little bit and maybe focus on some cards that don't see much light of day. Because the problem with the championship game is there's obviously a relatively small subset of cards that get used across the two seasons, and favourites tend to stay for quite a long time. I know there are changes with restricted lists and new cards, the meta does shift, but there will be some cards which perhaps won't see the light of day, whereas in Vanguard they might, because if I don't have the option to take a really strong Beastgrave card, then because I can't use it, then I'll have to go looking in Chasm for something else. So I think the first thing I really like about this Vanguard tournament is that it's nice and simple and easy to understand. If you're new to the game and you fancy playing in some tournaments, you can say, right, okay, you just need this box and this warband if you like it, and away you go. You can compete. And if you are only going to compete with like maybe the one warband that you like and the Chasm box, then you're not ever going to be too far behind in terms of what card you own. It's another great thing. It really lowers the barrier of entry for people who want to play tournaments but don't want to sort of suddenly, they're into Chasm, they bought the Chasm box, and then suddenly if they want to compete, they've got to find the Beastgrave box and buy all the warbands to have access to all those cards. So that's the ease of entry is I think a really great thing for the game. It means people can just pick up their box and they can almost immediately play a tournament, which means people probably travel less far for a Vanguard tournament because the real experts in the game, they want to play the championship rules. But that's no bad thing, because I think although everybody in this community is very nice, going when you don't own very many cards and have been stomped in the ground by somebody who's played lots and lots of tournaments all over the country probably isn't that great an experience, and no matter how nice the person may or may not be. So I think this means for local tournaments it's really good. It's going to be easier to start up a small local tournament. You're going to get more buy-in because people can just play with the Chasm box, and if they really love the rumoured new vampire models, they can just buy that and probably have a pretty competitive time. It's a good way to bring in old players. We get a lot of people commenting on our videos and on our Facebook page. I used to really enjoy playing this, but I fell behind and I can't catch up. Well, now you kind of can, because there is a tournament option for you if you just, well, actually, I really like the Slaanesh warband. This to be everybody's favourite. I really like the Slaanesh warband, and I want to jump in. And I can now without thinking, but if I ever want to play them in a competitive scene, I've got to buy all of this Beastgrave stuff, and I haven't got the money or the time or the inclination to go for that. You can just buy the Chasm box, and away you go. So it's a really good way if you really like Shakespeare, but found the games a bit repetitive or the cards turning up a bit repetitive, because let's face it, the card design has improved as the game has gone on, and you dropped it during Nightvolt and Beastgrave. You can jump back in, and you will be able to find tournaments for you. Hopefully, of course, we're all in this situation where tournaments are few and far between, but hopefully as the vaccine and things spreads across the world, tournaments will start springing up again, which would be absolutely lovely. Now I would say generally, is a good time to jump into the game. As I've just said, the card design and the game design has improved. Obviously, it's been tweaked, but the card design is generally a little bit better than the Shadespire box. So you're getting to play with the very best, very newest design cards, and the game should be in its most sleekest, meanest form. If you're playing Vanguard, you haven't got so many hangovers. I know Night Vault at one point in the Beastgrave season, there were lots of hangovers from the Night Vault season because you had cards like, until they restricted them, you had cards like Combination Strike and Opening Gambit and things like that, which are really, really powerful and kind of made games a bit samey. You should be playing like the kind of latest thinking in Underworlds game design, if you like, if you're playing Vanguard. So I'm really quite impressed with the move to Vanguard. I think it's a really good move on Games Workshop's part. They need to try and kickstart the competitive season again once COVID-19 has settled down. And I think this is a really good way to do it. I can really definitely see Pete and I still playing predominantly championship games, but sometimes it's just nice to build a deck with a smaller card pool. Makes your brain hurt a bit less. It's a bit easier to get decks together with your collection, which is another reduces that barrier of entry, as I was saying. You've got less cards to sift through to make a competitive deck. And it means we can showcase some cards and maybe warband tricks that perhaps don't get to see the light of day because there are just better cards out there. I mean, if you can take great strength, you would take great strength, but perhaps there are alternatives that people don't see so often, which we can show off in the Vanguard format. So let us know what you think of Vanguard. As I said, I think it's a really great move on Games Workshop's part, and I'm really looking forward to playing some Vanguard games. Perhaps not straight away. I must confess, there's only 2 warbands and like 1 deck of universal cards. Perhaps not the absolute best time to go into it, but maybe when there are 3 or 4 warbands out, I think it's a really exciting move for the game. So let us know what you think. If you've just tuned in to us, then do click like and subscribe and all that jazz, and we'll see you soon on the Agents of Sigmar